who are in book club who are unable to be here live today. So this is Strikers meeting number 2, and today is Tuesday, or it's not Tuesday, oh my gosh, blur of a week. It is Thursday, May 18th, 2023. It's raining. I'm gonna go let my dogs outside. Okay, no worries. I just noticed that too, that it was raining a few minutes ago. Okay, so here is our table of contents. Yeah, so it's raining. Before we move on to the table of contents, it's raining up here in the Minneapolis St. Paul area. So we're both based out of that kind of area. So my sky has blue and not where I am. Oh, you guys are lucky. But maybe it's coming towards you guys in the South Metro eventually. Do you want the rain? Wish I had the rain. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I bet the rain is coming. If it's hitting me up here, like where St. Paul meets Minneapolis, and it's getting into South Minneapolis, I'm sure it's going southbound. I want rain. Pepper, me and you are the only ones like kind of in the heart of the metro, so everybody else down in the South Metro doesn't have the rain yet, and they all want it. They're all jealous of us. Okay, so I'll move back on to the table of contents here. Expectations, we'll review the expectations for book club. And then the second one, we'll have our discussion. We'll discuss chapters 4 and 5 of the Strikers and the end. And then a surprise, books. Miss G ordered your first or second book choice for you on your Google form. So you'll be getting those two very soon. Miss Vonderhart ordered them yesterday. I was having a hard time getting into my account, so she ordered them for us. So hopefully they'll be coming by the end of the month. And then I'm just texting her quick because she said she can't come today. So it'll just be me. Okay. So on to the book club expectations. Everyone is responsible for reading the assigned pages. No spoilers, but now there aren't any spoilers anymore because we finished the book. And then watch the recording of the video if you can't attend the live meeting. Be polite to each other and read and make sure to take notes as you are reading if you would like to. Okay, so let's move on to our discussion questions here today. I think what we're gonna do is we'll do chapter 4 and 5 first, and then we'll do the Flint strike of 37. So that's kind of like our background slash historical focus for this meeting. Does anybody want to read the chapter 4 questions out loud for the class? This one's right here. Sure, Caleb, you can start reading here in just a second after I unhighlight it. Okay, you're good.
What do you think about Trevor's cheap shot on Hall? How about ensuing the fight and eventual forfeit? Were you surprised that they were tied?
Okay, so let's start with our first question here. So what do we think about Trevor's cheap shot on Paul? You can type your answer, or if you want to raise your hand, and then you can discuss. Okay, we got our first response. It was infuriating to read. Yeah, I think that it was pretty frustrating because it seemed very intentional. Like why would anybody on a breakaway just take a shot from at the halfway point, at the middle point of the rink, and then just like purposely nail somebody? Um, I was shocked and very mad at it, especially when the ref doesn't know that it was intentional. Yeah, the ref kind of just like blew it off and was like, that's like normal part of the game. Like, no worries, no big deal. And I see, yeah, very frustrating. And I agree, Caleb. But yeah, he was definitely trying to make a point. Like, he could have easily gone in and scored the goal, but instead he just wanted to make a point, which was kind of frustrating. I think JC, what he's trying to say is like what happens a lot is people like taking cheap shots and not necessarily like nailing them in the head is normal per se, but like more just the fact that things happen on the ice that shouldn't happen but happen anyways, and sometimes like the refs don't catch it per se or kind of downplay it to keep the game, like the flow of the game going. So it kind of doesn't end up like what just happened with the fight and everything. But that kind of leads like a good transition point to the next question. So, yes, he did do it on purpose. Like we were saying, he had a clear shot on his breakaway. He could have kept going and scored a goal, but he was definitely just trying to start things and make it a big deal. Um, so how did you feel about the ensuing fight and then eventual forfeit on the striker's end? The fight kind of didn't surprise me. Like I was like, I can see them. They're kind of a scrappy group of boys. Like I could see it happening. Trevor deserved it. Yeah, he got beat pretty bad there. I loved it. But I felt bad that they had to forfeit the game because it just felt like the refs and everyone was taking the other team's side, and I okay, so we got some more responses. I didn't love the fight, but I thought it was refreshing and funny that they loved the game even though they didn't win. Yeah, that's very true. They didn't see it as like a loss per se. I noticed that, like the way they phrased it. So funny, and he definitely needed it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, Trevor did need it. He needed a reality check. Sorry I'm late. I'm helping getting Gotenks food? No worries. The Blades couldn't even fight back. Rich kids. They were not scrappy at all like the Flint boys were. I'll tell you that. They were, yeah, I agree with that. I just felt bad that they had a forfeit and that they weren't able to keep playing the game because the Blades were one of the best teams. So it felt really cool that the Strikers had like a good chance to stick, like kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Um, keep up with is the word I'm looking for. Kind of keeping up with the Blades. Like I thought that was really neat that they could keep up with them and that the game was tied and they were doing so well, especially since it is like one of the best teams in the league. Okay, so that I think leads to a good transition point for the last question on chapter 4. Were you surprised at the time of the forfeit that they were tied 2-2 to the Blades? What do we think about that? Oh, we see a lot of no's. That's good. And then I see Bobby did a good thing. Nah, nah. Oh, everyone kind of knew the underdog spirit. Like they had it in them the whole time. It's just they needed to showcase their talent when they worked together. Because I think all of them together make the team and not just like one individual, like some of the other teams in the league where it's like, yeah, this is their captain and they're the star of the show and nothing else really compares. Yeah, reason being is because they are a good team and they just have to work together. Perfect. I agree, Caleb. Okay, so we will move on to chapter 5 here. There's two parts on the chapter 5 one. So I'll have one person read this highlighted part right here, and then I'll have a second person read the second part when we get there. So, can I have a volunteer for the first part? This one should be a pretty quick one before we move on to the second part of this questions. Oh, Rose, I will have you read this one, and then Pepper, you can read the second one.
Strikers won again. What did you think of their victory against the Royals?
Okay, let's discuss. What do we think about their win? It was nice to see them win again. And they did it pretty handedly too. Like it wasn't like necessarily a super close game, but it wasn't like their last game, let's say that. A win is a win. That's very true. However you can get a win is however you can get a win. I was happy about it. Me too. I like to see them all happy. Yeah, they were super excited for that win. The Royals were like a 500-ish team too, so they weren't bad per se, but they weren't like amazing like the Blades. So it was nice to see them have an opportunity to kind of come together and have an important victory for them. Any other thoughts before we move on to the second part of chapter 5? Okay. Pepper, I will have you read. Oh, wait, we got one more comment here quick, and then we'll move on. Oh, two more comments. I felt happy. 3 comments. Okay, I gotta read all these first. I felt happy that they worked hard and deserved it. I'm glad they did better even without Johnny. I read the book, then reread it multiple other series. TBH, I forgot most of it. Oh no. I'm sorry, Martika. Well, I hope you enjoyed it the first time around and the second. So I can't really give an opinion. No worries. Okay, let me see one thing here quick. Okay, I think we're ready for Pepper to read the second part of chapter 5 here, the highlighted portion on my screen.
What did you think about the team helping Paul score his first goal? What about the final score of that game?
Okay, I really found this one, like, I really enjoyed this part of the book because they were so dedicated to helping Paul score. I thought that was really cool, especially since he didn't play organized hockey after this ever again. They just let them run up the score. Like, it was like 2-7 at one point before, or it was like 1-7. It ended up being 2-7 at one point, and then it was 2-12. But I was so happy that they got him his goal and they didn't care about the score of the game. Okay, it was just a fun game. Yeah. Yay, Paul. It was really cute it was a really cute thing for them to do. I loved it. I think everyone deserves to score once in a while. And they just had fun. They really did. They didn't really care about the outcome of the game as much. They were just there to play as a team. And I think them rallying behind Paul was really cool, especially after his injury, too, to say, like, you're a part of the team, even if you aren't scoring goals or getting assists or anything like that. But the fact that they were like, hey, we're going to move you from D and we're going to put you right up here on right wing and go score a goal. It was really cool. And then I loved on the graphic where they show like the puck had just barely gone over the line, and you're like, yeah, Paul, you go, Paul. Paul did not give up. It's a big change from the beginning. It really is. At the beginning, they really just, they were not meshing well. They just wanted to win. They wanted to score. They weren't acting like a team. So it was kind of nice to see the progression of the team go from the beginning and then to the end where they kind of ended up. Like, they got some wins, they got some nice goals, they were there as a team, they meshed and bonded as a team, and they became better people for it too, really, if you think about it. So yeah. Okay, any other thoughts here before we move on to the Flint strike? Oh, we got another one. They were happy even though they didn't win the last game. They were very happy, and I'm glad to see them just be there for each other. It was really nice. Okay, so on to the Flint strike of 37. So I thought this was really cool, just given the fact that the book was set in the 80s when Flint, Michigan was kind of going through another period of decline with like the big automakers kind of, well, specifically GM, like not becoming as big of a presence in Flint. Like, the jobs went down from like 90,000 to like 9,000. So it was a huge deal on Flint as a whole, but I really liked the different aspects of the book where we got to learn about the history behind the town. I don't know, did you guys appreciate that too? And it wasn't like overwhelming the amounts of it. Like it was kind of peppered and sprinkled in like here or there. What'd you think of that? You still got to read the story as it went on, but then you also got to learn the historical aspects of the book too and the town. Caleb, I like that. Yay. Any other thoughts? Pepper said, I love learning about the weather ball. Yeah, the weather ball is pretty cool. The question was kind of just about the historical aspects of the book, like kind of dropping in and peppering in like the different like historical significance of Flint, Michigan at the time. Excuse me. Okay, so the reason that we're kind of focusing on the Flint strike of 37 as our last set of discussion questions, again, me being a history social studies teacher, I really love that part of the story. But I also think that like by understanding this part about the strike, you understand more about the team's history and understanding why they were named that and kind of why the characters are the way they are and kind of how they represent the determination and grittiness of a lot of people from Flint, Michigan. So the first thing we're going to do is watch about a 4-minute video just about the strike from the United Auto Workers. And then after that, we're going to read a brief part from the Library of Congress about the sit-down strike that we learned about briefly in the book. And then I want to go back to this page in the book, have somebody read that out loud, and we'll kind of like reflect and like discuss about that. And then we'll look at kind of where GM and Flint are today and what GM is doing to help Flint kind of recover from decades of economic downturn. Any questions before we get started on that? Or you can just give me an emoji that you're ready. Thanks, Pepper, Addie, and Caleb, and Rose. Okay, so let's watch our video.
These were days when history changed its course. The sit-down strikes began on December 30th. They began with the attempt of GM to move the dies at Fisher No. 1 to Grand Rapids and elsewhere.
On January the 4th, the union submitted a complete list of grievances. We asked for a national General Motors agreement, for day rates and the abolition of the hated piecework system, for seniority, for recognition of the union, for control of speed-up, for grievance procedures, for the reinstatement of all the men who had been fired for union activity, and for a 30-hour week. GM said no to everything. We separated workers who didn't know each other, workers who didn't know each other's names, men who had been divided, weak and oppressed, came together in union and in solidarity.
The union spokesman was John L. Lewis. Workers from all over the world converged on Flint. The General Motors factories where the workers were sitting in had become a stage which the workers of the world, wherever they were watching intently. Extra editions of papers came out on Flint developments in Paris, in Rome, in London, Calcutta, Buenos Aires. It was a bitter winter in January. Flint was the very forge of the people who worked in the plants. There were times when the summer soldiers fell away and the winter soldiers stood up in a terrible trial. Armchair generals and colonels were demanding that the National Guardsmen go into those plants and shoot the sit-downers out. The National Guard truly maintained law and order. The strikers were disciplined, but the Flint city government was the General Motors government after all, and General Motors insisted, so the police tried to evict the sit-downers. vandalism you see there. They are breaking these windows to let the air in and to let the tear gas out. This is the end of the Battle of Cold Run. The attempt to end the sit-down strike and tear gas and blood as 13th century peasants revolt. We're Catholics.
We didn't know what was going to happen. And then, of course, when the National Guard was called out, we were scared to death that they were going to maybe shoot down the workers with strikers. But it didn't. We had a good governor, and he sent the National Guard in to protect them.
We will work our way out of this strike peacefully and without injustice to anyone. I am confident that after it's all over with, there will be a better understanding between employer and employee. And better still, I hope that conditions will be improved under which men and women labor and live.
The sit-down strikes reached their climax at the beginning of February. Governor Murphy had been in office just 1 month. General Motors had tried spies and intimidation. GM had taken its case to court before a judge who was a GM stockholder. The corporation had applied pressure on Governor Murphy. It had tried evicting the strikers by force. The discipline of the strikers wavered. Their wives and their children came to the factory windows. Troops, there to maintain order, not to shoot strikers, bivouacked in the street.
Strike came to an end on February 11th, 1937. Governor Murphy announced the settlement terms. For 6 months, General Motors would not, without the governor's permission, deal with any employee spokesman except the UAW and the 17 plants that had been struck. The other plants, the union would be dealt with as representatives for its own members. No discrimination against union people. All strikers would be rehired. Union members could talk about the union during lunch and rest periods. All meetings against the union and its members to end. The company would begin to negotiate with the union in good faith. It was a magnificent and historic victory.
People need a union. That's the main thing, because you can't survive too long without a union and really live a decent life. Kids just don't have any idea what it was like. But I'm afraid someday they're going to find out.
Okay, so that was the video portion. Then I'll pull up the article here quick. This photo was shown within the video, but I kind of I liked that the Library of Congress had kind of highlighted that photo in here and also just gave like really good background information on the actual strike itself. So what I think we're going to do here is just read these 2 paragraphs here, take a look at the photo, and then kind of discuss a little bit. So does anybody want to read the first one right here? I'll read the big second one if anybody wants to read the first one. Sure, Rose, you can go.
Once called the strike heard around the world, the first major labor dispute in the U.S. auto industry ended after General Motors signed a contract with the United Auto Workers Union on February 11th, 1937.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Over time, unions have changed conditions for workers. In 1935, the average auto worker took home about $900, while the United States government determined that an annual monthly income of $1,600 was the minimum of which a family of 4 could live in that year of 1935. In addition, working conditions were often difficult and unionizing efforts were resisted by companies. For example, General Motors, GM, spent $839,000 on detective work in 1934 alone and used a group called the Black Legion, who employed various intimidation tactics against active union members. As a consequence of these policies, union organizers changed tactics and gradually the union gained strength. Okay, so here is our photo. of the strike itself. Once it loads. Okay, here we go. So, in the chat right now, or if you want to raise your hand, what are your thoughts on this strike and its importance? Just in history in general, or to Flint, or to our book? What do we think? This one's going to take a little bit of time to answer, so no worries. I think it's really cool how they unionized and were like, we're not going to work under these conditions and we want better for ourselves and our families, especially since in the 1930s, men were primarily the only ones in the workforce. Like a lot of women worked at home. So if you're working long, grueling hours and you can't make your ends meet, I think it was a good idea for them to get together and try to get better wages and better treatment on the job. I left this very open-ended. It's kind of it can be a difficult question to answer, huh? I think too, this one back in the 30s was also really important because it also led way to more union workers having other strikes too, like in the 50s, 60s, or if we think about like civil rights sit-ins or strikes too. I like that the team was able to use their stories as a kind of motivator. Yeah, I think that's good too. I find it funny. So just like looking at the photo, like all the cars on the assembly line, like ready to be built, and then these guys are just chilling, reading the paper and books. But yeah, sometimes a lot of companies try to use tactics like hiring other people and then just being like, well, you're on strike, so somebody's got to keep the work going. Which is pretty bad too. Oh, they are sitting on car seats. You are correct. I think it is important because they stood up for themselves and wanted better conditions. It is also important because it might have inspired other important strikes. Yeah. Is your what in the car seats that they're sitting on? They're on car seats because they're working at the GM plant in Flint, and so they were upset that it was potentially being moved to Grand Rapids, and they wanted better working conditions and better pay, pretty much. But if we kind of zoom in on the picture, you can see some other people in the background too. But yeah, they're just chilling on those car seats. Anything else we noticed about the picture? That they're reading the highlights. Yeah. They're reading the headlines and the important stories. It was important because they wanted their own working conditions and better wages and didn't want to work in the rough conditions. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So let's move on to page 136 here in the book. We can read it together as a class here. Does anybody want to read the first two people? Or not first two people, but first two panels. So panel 1, panel 2, and I'll take a volunteer for panel 3 and panel 4. Pepper, it looks like you're getting a volunteer. Pepper and Caleb? Pepper, you do have an awesome reading voice, by the way.
Can I read the first panel?
Yeah, you can read the first panel.
I guess I don't get the point. 50 years later, GM's closing everything down. How now? Oh God, half the town's out of work. What good does the union even do? The point is that they did something crazy. The point is that they won. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay. And then Caleb, do you want to finish from Nah Man down to the end? Sweet, thank you.
Aw, man. When we walked out on the last day, we still didn't have a contract. We didn't have any security, and GM was going to fight as hard as they could to keep those from us. It wasn't the end when the union got recognized. The point is they fought. It was the start of something.
Yeah. So I really enjoy kind of learning that background information about the strike and seeing how it still impacted the town almost 50 years later. And also too how it resonates with a D-League boys hockey team. What did you think about that? And yes, Pepper, you did a great job. And you too, Caleb. Does this make more sense after learning more about the background information? Yes. Yes, it does. Yes. Perfect. Yes. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I think too, the strikers are like the perfect embodiment of, if that's the right word I'm looking for, of Flint, especially during that time because they were so determined, they were gritty, they were scrappy. All the odds were against them in a lot of ways, but they could still prove themselves and they fought for it. I think that's a major theme is fighting for something that you want. What do you guys think? Yeah. Did I summarize that pretty good? Or is there anything else you want to add? They persevered. Yes, I agree with that. I think that's a great quality and attribute that they have as well. I would agree with that, Rose. Okay. And then to finish up here with our Flint GM and just all the background and historical stuff right here. During the 80s and kind of just in general within Flint's history, they've had a lot of things going on that make media attention. I know a lot of you probably know about in the 2010s when they had the water crisis in Flint too, right? Have you heard about that? That was a very big deal. I think it was the early 2010s, maybe. I know it was during the Obama administration because there was like a video of Obama drinking some Flint water after. Has anybody heard of the Flint water crisis? No? Oh my gosh, I should have put that in there. Okay. We'll make this really brief. Okay, so it was in 2014. So the Flint water crisis, a public health crisis that started in 2014 after the drinking water of the city of Flint, Michigan was contaminated with lead and Legionella bacteria. So this is like what the water had looked like, just for you to kind of reference. Not good. So that was water coming from their sinks. Spent 2 hours in fourth grade on a Friday before the end of the year to learn about it. Oh, Martika, so you have good background on it. Yeah, it was very bad. No, what, Martika? Oh, things go in one ear and out the other. Okay. So you did learn about it, but you don't remember much. Okay. Gotcha. So the city of Flint has gone through a lot. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is that the city just keeps going and, still has that determination and kind of fighting power. And GM is investing money within their Flint plant. There used to be quite a few plants within Flint itself, but now they're just down to one. And I thought it was really cool, like when I was like looking for videos on YouTube to see that GM was starting to invest more back into the town. So hopefully it's more on the up and rising.
Have you considered going solar in Minnesota but afraid of the huge price tag attached? Most people don't know this, but almost 100.
Live from NBC 25 in Flint, this is Mid-Michigan Now.
Good evening and welcome to Mid-Michigan Now at 6. I'm Dave Bondi.
And I'm Stella Daskalakis. Big news from General Motors. The company is making another major investment in its birthplace. As Mid-Michigan Now's Mike Woolfolk reports, it marks a firm commitment to Flint and the UAW.
Even as General Motors is committed to becoming an all-EV company in the not-too-distant future, it isn't completely
EV company is electric vehicle, just so you know.
walking away from big, powerful gasoline-powered engines.
We want to announce today that we're putting $579 million of investment right here in the Flint engine plant to produce the next generation small block V8.
Standing before workers at the Flint Engine Operations Plant, GM Executive Vice President of Manufacturing and Sustainability, Gerald Johnson, delivers news that ensures the facility's future for some time to come. This plant will produce the company's next generation gasoline-powered small block V8. And that may come as a surprise announcement from a company planning to go all electric by next decade.
Our strategy is to be able to move and grow with EVs on top of our current internal combustion engine business into the future as we transition.
The workers here are relieved. Plant Director Lisa Mack says there was some concern about the future.
Being a nice plant, you don't know, and being able to have this announcement today, it certainly changes the excitement level here.
Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist equally excited, saying this major investment shows GM's confidence in Flint.
To see this recommitment in Flint to this platform, which has been so important historically, this platform, which is a foundation for the future of the company and the future investments. I'm just glad to see it all continuing to be happening here.
Crews are already busy building the new plant section behind these walls. Ultimately, the building itself will expand. And this isn't the only plant getting investment. GM is also pumping $216 million into its engine components plant in Bay City. And two other plants in Ohio and New York will also support the work here. All in all, GM is pumping $900 million into this next generation small block V8. At Flint Engine Operations, I'm Mike Woolfolk, Mid-Michigan Now.
Thank you, Mike. Right now, between the Flint and...
Okay. So what did you think about that video? Kind of a good, happy little ending note to show some revitalization and trying to invest more in the Flint economy and for the people of Flint and for the United Auto Workers Union and its employees too at the GM plant. Oops, I need to click on that one. There we go. Definitely. Thank you, Caleb. I thought it was nice to piece that all together with that final video. Cool. So the last thing we're going to do here today before we end the meeting is write our final thoughts after reading Strikers. And then before we go, I will tell you our future plans and then we are all done for the day. So in the chat, just write your final thoughts after reading Strikers. So very similar to the one we did at the first meeting where you wrote your thoughts after the first 68 pages and reading the back of the book. Now that we're all done, what are your final thoughts? Excuse me. Okay, we got our first one. Pepper said, I like the book more as I read. Still not my favorite, but not bad. And then JC said it was a great book. And a sequel would be great. And then I'll add Caleb's here. I thought it was a really good book. I really liked that they were able to win a few games and didn't always devote each game to winning. It was a really good book. I really love the story line of how the team becomes really good friends. And then hockey is still something I'll never do, but the book has given me some interest into it. It is well written and a good read. Yay. Perfect. Oh, and then we got one more here. So Rose said the book is great. Strikers is a book about perseverance, that even though you fall, you get up 7 times. Even though you fall 7 times, you get up 8. Is that what you meant, Rose?
Yeah.
Okay. They worked hard as a team. Teamwork makes the dream work. Yay. Perfect. Okay. Here we go. I'll fix that one quick. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Everyone contributed to that. I think those are all really great. So I'm going to move on to our future plans here. Your first or second choice from First Book Marketplace should be arriving by the end of the May. So I will come and deliver those to your house again so you can read them over the summer. And then we will have one more meeting either next week, the 25th, or on the 1st. We'll take a vote here really quick. And give a review or a thank you letter to learner publishers for letting us read this book. I haven't decided exactly what we're going to do, but next time we meet, we'll kind of work on that together, and then I'll send it over their way, and they're really excited to see what you think about the book. So that'll be our next and last meeting. So would you prefer to meet next week on the 25th or on the 1st? And then you can write in the chat, or if both of them work, you can write both, like either or. And then I'll end the recording here too.